Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. I just want to make sure, okay, we look okay. Busy morning and a lot to share.
Indeed.
Yes, absolutely. Again, we want to thank you guys for your support on Patreon and Ko-Fi, and couldn't do it without you guys. Also, those that have joined us in memberships on YouTube. Not sure where I'm going to put this because there's so many follow-up videos to do. And so many things to go down that I'm not sure we're going to put this yet. But I wanted to get some info across that Cindy has been picking up. Sometimes when we do our meditation and mantras, we get an overwhelming amount of info that, sometimes takes us a little while to sort through. And where do we put this? Where do we put that? Can we get more clarity here? What about this and what about that? So what I want to do right now is give you guys what we got. I think it's pretty fascinating, and I think it ties a lot of loose ends together.
Well, we were looking at some things earlier when it came to particular technologies, and what came up were this class of beings who are involved in protecting us from certain technologies. So that's what brought this up.
Yeah, and I have highlighted here something that has to do with a dome that's made out of gold. And actually, I will share, we had a psychic attack this morning that set us back a little while. They're very real, and you could call it a psychic attack, or you could say it was an attack with an energy weapon. But either way, it was definitely an attack to keep us from sharing some things with you guys. So what I'm going to do is avoid, the news articles, because they also will look to take us down in any way they can. They literally removed a video on the heart chakra from YouTube. I mean, that's just insane. Again, the system doesn't want itself being exposed. When you see the battle for space that's underway, apparently on planet Earth, and again, if you just read the news articles, you get the feeling it's just simply the BRICS nation. It's China, Russia against U.S., NATO, but nothing could be farther from the truth. In fact, this, again, it's spiritual warfare, which, again, defines spiritual warfare. It's warfare that's going on in other dimensions than this. Not just here, but it's going on in other dimensions. And when you see the symbolism of, again, the eagle and the snake, or the eagle and the serpent, what happens is things get all jumbled together. And many, many scholars of the ancient Sumerian tales will tell you that the snake is Enki, and the eagle is Enlil, and this is what's representing the battle of the brothers. But the reality is, the energies don't match that. They truly don't. And again, the system has usurped that which is natural and real, and it plagiarizes. This is the thing we have to realize. When you look to AI, for instance, what can AI do? It can give you all sorts of conglomerations and rehashing of info that it's taken from us, and then put it into all different sorts of flowery words and fluff, and package it this way, package it that way. It cannot create anything new. It can't come up with new concepts. It can't come up with new ideas. It can only analyze the data that it has. When we look to the Anunnaki, what we see with the Anunnaki is some of these bird beings. These are clearly humanoid bird beings. They hold the pine cone. Now, the pine cone is, again, that's the pineal gland. So it's talking about the ability to communicate through different dimensions. When you see, again, the bird, eagle, phoenix, in some ways it'll look more like a phoenix. And again, the symbolism of the snake, there's a lot of different things we can take from that. Obviously, serpent, wisdom, kundalini energy, yes. You could take wings as always symbolizing the ability to come and go up in the air and into other dimensions and densities. When you see the United States eagle, the Nazi eagle, the Roman Empire eagle, you might think, again, what's going on? What's really backing these powers? And we could add to that too. We could also add to it the Russian eagle too, and some double-headed versions. Again, you could get into details and say more of a phoenix than an eagle, but we're talking about avians, avians, and then we're also talking about serpents or reptilians. There's so much to this. Garuda in Hindu mythology is a key being. Garuda is the way that Vishnu chooses to fly. And yet we see Vishnu sitting on top of Seshanaga, king of the Nagas, which is a giant serpent. And, you also see Vishnu resting on top of Seshanaga. There's many different levels to this and to the mythology. And really what, again, they're trying to do is impart to us a narrative of our history, what has really, really happened. I would give you what we term the Garuda Avians. And who are the Garuda Avians? It's not a singular entity. It's a classification of, again, avian humanoid being that are very 3D to us. And they also can work in the 4D and the 5D. So these are interdimensional beings. But then again, many of us are operating on 5D at times when we're deep in meditation. And then we're all over 4D when we're sleeping and then, going through the dreamscape. So what you have here is an ally to humanity and also an ally to the creator of this realm. Again, in the Hindu tradition and to the Vaishnavites, Vishnu is the creator. Vishnu goes and lays down. Brahma comes out of his navel, and Brahma creates the universe. But it's through Vishnu that the universe is ultimately created. Cindy has channeled Vishnu, and we do recognize that entity as the creator of this universe. Yet again, it's not the only name that entity is known by. Of course not. That entity is known by a myriad of names because there are so many. It's an infinite number of worlds, and we have all these different densities in this one single universe. Yet the reality of the Garuda Avians, these beings have helped us time and time and time again. And again, we've also channeled Krishna, and we've also channeled Rama. Now, Krishna and Rama are taken to be incarnations of Vishnu. They're avatars of Vishnu. But the reality is, from what we have gathered, these are beings that are their own individuals. In the case of Rama, my impression and feeling is that he's literally also somebody from inside the earth, the inner earth, Agartha, Shambhala, Shangri-La. And in the impression of Krishna is that he comes from a different planet. Really, he was a starseed that came here to, again, help humans and to teach humans in a more direct way, in a more honest way than the control system has taught us. So while I don't see them necessarily as the way the Hindu tradition would typically see them, again, source is within all of us. We are all fractals of source. And, again, the creator, because we have come into this realm, we are also embedded with the energy of the creator of this universe as well. These beings support the original intention of the creator of this universe. And that is also what the angelic realm does. They support the original intention of the creator and the creation. So when we look at all these depictions, now Garuda can be, this is him carrying Vishnu, can be depicted in many different ways, sometimes extremely avian, sometimes more human, right? This is another depiction of Garuda. And again, you might confuse and say, well, are they talking about angels? There you go. So again, there's been so much confusion. The confusion has been cultivated by the system, and also what the system has done. And as I've explained before, when you look at different kings battle or different royalty, quote unquote, battle, and let's say the Duke of Wellington takes over this other earl's property, and that earl is known by different names, like protector of the whatever people. Well, that person that took over or conquered will take those titles for themselves. This is what they do. So when we see the symbolism of the eagle in so many ways, it's really, again, those of the reptilian nature and the AI draconian fallen Anunnakian beings that have succumbed to the Borg and joined that collective. It's them taking on the designations of those that they've conquered, at least for that period in time, because again, it's only because of the low frequency of the Kali Yuga that they get that advantage. And now we're no longer in the Kali Yuga. Here you can see clearly this looks like a warrior with wings. Yes, avian, yes. Human, yes, both. Soaring above the clouds. Again, when we look to our mythologies and our modern mythologies like Marvel Comics stuff, some of the heroes have AI built into them. They're, like Iron Man and stuff. Other ones have these natural abilities and gifts. These are the same legends as when we look back to the ancient gods of old mythology. If we simply view all these gods of mythology as extraterrestrials, interdimensional beings, sometimes inner Earth, sometimes they live under the sea like SpongeBob, except for in cities. Ultra-terrestrials, I think, is a great term. This is what we're really talking about. But when we talk about the Avians, we're talking about beings that are out there truly to protect us, as you see. Here's another Garuda being. This is doing away with a couple of serpents. And yes, we can also look at the serpents as Kundalini, the Ida, the Pingala, especially when you see a representation with a third straight channel running up the middle. That's the Sushumna. This is all basic. This is all basic Qigong and medical Qigong knowledge, as well as others have taken this knowledge, yogic knowledge. Yet there is also the battle, the real battle between the reptilians and the avians, which is very, very real. It's been going on all around us. Here you see what looks to be a depiction of Vishnu with angel wings, or is it avian wings? Ah, yes. Again, so many different layers to this reality.
So, bringing them, when they came to us, we wanted a little more clarity to who we wanted to bring more clarity to who they are. So the information that I got with these beings, they are here to help us. They do not want space to be weaponized. That's the big takeaway. They do not want space to be weaponized. And if space is weaponized, they are going to do something about it. And we have a couple of things coming into place that could be used for the good of human beings, but it could also be used to control human beings. And they're not going to allow that. So I just wanted a little more clarity as far as who these beings are. And it did come through very strong. The Garuda Avians is what came through. And they are a warrior class of celestial bird beings patterned after the eagle. Why is the eagle so regarded as and worshipped and held on such a high pedestal? Mike asked me this morning, and when I looked into the eagle, because the eagle operates on so many different dimensions. They don't just see with their two eyes. They see and feel and hear with their body, and they operate on multiple different dimensions. And they're almost the perfect type of being that Earth made for herself. They are absolutely beautiful. So they are patterned after the eagle. and they are protectors. These beings are protectors of the truth and the original designs of the Creator. So we keep that in mind too. And what do? Well, they clear parasitic and dark entities, and they protect certain timelines and enforce a spiritual type of sovereignty that we all deserve to have. These beings are not afraid to get their hands dirty. They are not afraid to roll around in the mud. They want to protect us. They see something so special in who we are. They are willing to, get themselves out there. But they also already know that if they do interject themselves, they've already won. They have no doubts. So I thought they were a very, very special being. They carry an extremely high frequency of solar light. So they do get so much energy from the sun, and they do operate between 3 and 5D. So we got a little more information on that. And I do think these beings have interjected themselves because there's a storyline. They want their story told. And like I said before, they're not going to allow for our space to be weaponized. And that's what brought them into us this morning to talk about them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What do you see here? Again, you see a bird being. Again, you got the beautiful blue wings. When we look to these beings, obviously avian characteristics, I think that we have many remembrances of some of our dear friends that truly have been our allies, and they've also been our gurus and our teachers. When you look again to lions and tigers and such, and realize that there are humanoid and yet very, very feline beings, again, the Lyrans. This is where the reality is setting in the mythology. It's trying to give us a remembrance. But again, the system has done all it can to wipe out any true, clear, open connections so humanity can figure out what's going on. They don't want you knowing this. This is why you literally have the demonic entities telling you to not use things like tarot cards, or not use your psychic abilities, because you might actually contact, real angelic beings instead of demons. And you might actually understand that you have been a prisoner of war in so many ways, caught behind enemy lines.
And there's some things about talking about how do you know if you're aligned with this energy, and how do you know if, because you may have a Garuda Avian for a higher self. And they told me anyone who feels connected to hawks or eagles or winged beings, they have a very strong sense of higher self. They are able to connect to these beings. What I thought was kind of funny is they said people who go to sleep and they sleep well, but they wake up exhausted, may have been fighting in the astral all night long with these beings, making changes in our timelines and doing their best to protect. They have if you feel like you're someone who really wants to protect others, especially the innocent or the vulnerable, you could have one of these as your higher self and be connecting to them at this moment.
Yeah, and again, blue is a color that's associated with the angelic realm a lot. Yes. And again, there's another thing that's fascinating that Cindy picked up on, is that these avians have some sort of structure to their system that's done by color.
It is. They have a very unique system, and in their bloodlines, for one thing, I love that there's no shame. So these avian beings come out and they might be a solid white. Well, they know that there's something in that bloodline. There's a specialty that they have that no other avian has. So if there's something that needs to be done that is, fighting for those who are not able to fight for themselves, they're going to send in that white avians, or avian, not just one, but many. They can come in gold, they can come in black, they can come in red, as in fire. They can come in blue, as with water. So they definitely work with Earth's elements and use that as their specialty. So their bloodlines, as they are born with these colors, they know immediately like where they come from and what their specialty is.
Yeah, I haven't asked you this, but I have an impression that some of their ships are gigantic and very, very round. Do you have impressions on that?
They show me they're spherical, very very spherical in nature, and it's because of how they pull the ether in. So they pull the ether in to maintain these ships and maintain themselves too, because the ether is endless, and they work off of Earth's natural subtleties.
Yeah, these are truly, if it wasn't for them, we may not be here at this point in time. Because again, it's the way that the dark side has taken advantage of humans. It really is the Garuda Avians, the ones that we call the Garuda Avians, that have protected us in the physical realm, in this physical realm. When we talk about Galactic Federation, most of those beings are really fifth density. They're higher density, and they have a non-interference thing that they really abide by for karmic law. These avians, they're willing sometimes to go a little bit beyond that and stick their necks out for us, even if it could, at times, end up backlashing them somewhat karmically, which is really showing a tremendous amount of support.
It's they're simply wanting to protect the human race, and there's something bigger about space than we know. They are definitely going to protect space, and they're not going to let us fall under a certain type of control, and they're very very dedicated to that. I find such a strong energy of dedication from them. It's very palatable. It's like this rock or this stone, and they're like, we're not going there. Not when it comes to space. We are just not going there. Space is going to remain a zone that is free from war and free from being weaponized. They're very firm about it.
The origins of Garuda, tale of devotion and defiance. This is from Hindu mythology. Garuda first emerged in Indian mythology under the name Garuda, born to the goddess Vinata. According to legend, Vinata became enslaved to her sister Kadru and the serpent race. Wait a minute. Vinata became enslaved to her sister Kadru and the serpent race after losing a wager. Yeah, I mean, what does this tell you? Yeah, the serpent race. Again, it's all there in the myths. Determined to free his mother, Garuda embarked on a perilous quest to steal the Amrita, the nectar of immortality from the gods. Table isn't just a heroic fable, it's a metaphor for overcoming the odds with courage and unwavering devotion. The Garuda's successful retrieval of Amrita, the nectar of the gods, despite powerful adversaries, symbolizes the victory of truth, willpower, and selflessness in the face of adversity. Garuda's encounter with Vishnu, one of Hinduism's principal deities, further elevated his status. So impressed was Vishnu by Garuda's strength and loyalty that he made him his personal mount. From then on, Garuda became a divine symbol of power, speed, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. Now, what we really have going on is, again, extraterrestrial, interdimensional battles. And this is how it is, depicted in the myths. Again, Garuda is known not just in Hinduism, but Buddhism and also other systems, like the Jains recognize Garuda as well. They, again, also recognize Hanuman. So, and Hanuman is another similar sort of energy in a way, a protector. And in many ways, I do think Hanuman is depicting a Bigfoot type race of beings. This is where, again, we can see in the mythologies the essence of the truth that's hidden. The truth of this interdimensional, intergalactic battle of which, most of humanity has been clueless.
I believe they're coming forward now because they are asking for help. They're asking for people to connect to their higher self. They're asking for people to assist them because the energy, can go from us to them, if there is a connection. They say often, they show up through Reiki masters, through light workers, through shamans, but they also work with our military, which I found very, very interesting. If there is someone in the military, they have the option to connect with higher self or lower self. Well, the higher self with many of our military is this avian race.
Yeah, and this is what happens. So, in some ways, the light has infiltrated the darkness by having certain beings incarnate, and the higher selves are very, very benevolent beings. Yet the system will do what it does, and it perverts, it twists, it utilizes all sorts of egoic temptations to get these people to cross over to the dark side and to let go of the higher self and just stay in a more self-centered, service to self, egoic mindset. And so this is how these beings get disconnected. What we've gotten about 47 is that, there is a connection to these avians and the higher self, but yet being born into wealth, being born into the heart of the dark system, that is all about stoking the ego and pulling the incarnation away from the higher self. So what will he do? Well, that's something that's really up to the individual entity. Can you count on him? No. Because again, anybody that incarnates into this realm, especially in a Kali Yuga, they always look at the myths. Even the best of us make errors all the time. Even the best of us fall short time after time after time. So you can't not truly count on them, but what you can do is put out your prayers and positive vibes that they do rise up in frequency and connect to the higher self. And that's what we can all be doing all the time.
We have choices, we have options, we can connect to the higher self, and it's that time. We're in a Bronze Age, and I also think that's another reason why they're coming forward right now. They're allowed to kind of show themselves in a way that still puts the free will in your hands. So I just thought it was very fascinating, and it all started with Mike asking, why the eagle? Why are they all using the eagle as that pinnacle of power? And then from that, this morning, these beings came forward.
Yeah, we've had contact with them in the past. They've come through several times. And yet again, more clarity. So we wanted to share that with you guys. Again, some people can't understand. Well, they just can't understand channeling. They can't understand connecting to the higher self. So they always are just basing everything on what's written. And when you've been in a system that for hundreds, if not thousands of years, has been rewriting the history, blasting to oblivion any of the truth anywhere through nonstop wars, through book burnings and purges, through coming up with the curriculum in schools, so that each new generation will be taught, brought up believing what the system wants you to. Unfortunately, there are those that cannot understand that you can have a direct connection, like what the Gnostics talked about. Gnosis is an inner knowing because you came up with it. You felt it. You saw it. You had some sort of experience which proves to you something is true, and you have that aha moment. If we're only looking for proof, which the system has eradicated, you're never going to find anything but what the system wants you to find. You got to go within. So that means, you have to stop drinking. You have to stop doing drugs. You have to stop eating crap. And a lot of people just won't do that. They won't. They're used to their drugs. They're used to horrible food. They're used to their sugar addiction. They're not willing to dedicate hours to, really a spiritual mind, body, breath practice. It's your decision, and ultimately it can take many, many lifetimes to escape the lower frequency realms and beings. But when you think about it, again, you can achieve what they would call nirvana in a single lifetime if you're motivated to. You can merge into the highest of densities. It's really up to you. It's the individual that has to do the work. And we can't look at ourselves as just victims. It's up to us to rise above.
We do need to rise above, and it starts with an activation. We all come into this world and we receive some kind of activation, and there's different ways of being activated, but once you are, then you are being called to connect with the higher self. And then there are things that happen in your life that might not be so easy, and that you might need a little guidance to walk through. And that's been my case when I was called to step into my higher self. It was very serious, and there was no nonsense, and there was no goofing around. It's like, you're going to do this. You're going to do this. There's the alternative, 6 feet under. They were serious. So, I think we're all a lot of people are facing that. And the guides told me not too long ago that this year there is going to be an awakening, very much like 2019 and 2021, and people won't be able to turn from it. And sometimes you need help. You don't know what's going on. There's so many crazy things happening to you. Suddenly you have a zero food tolerance. What can I eat? But you have to rein yourself in and really figure out what is your higher self wanting you to eat, and that can take some work and time.
Yes, and I do want to commend everybody, because we know so many people firsthand that were down in the depths of addiction of all different sorts, and they're either in the process of overcoming or they have overcome. And there's a lot of you guys out there that are some of our biggest supporters, and most vocal supporters that have experienced, just how dark that can be. And you guys are the brightest of the shining lights. The more we ventured into the darkness, the brighter our light can shine once we get past that and we start shedding all the negative frequencies. Then you can become a bright guiding light for so many others. So again, so much love, respect, and honor to all of you that are, overcoming. And that's really the beauty of this, because again, the higher self will put us into positions that are very, very challenging, because out of the most challenging life circumstances, that gives us the most growth.
The most challenging thing that I ever had to face was myself, period. I was my biggest challenge, and sometimes I still am. But I just put one foot in front of the other, sometimes a minute at a time, sometimes a day at a time. It just depends on the day and what I'm faced with. But I have a more clear direction now, and it's taken a lot, but here I am, and we're here to help other people walk through it too. It's not like when you have an awakening or an activation, you can't really take this information to, at least I could not take my information to a therapist and say, hey, what's going on? Because they already have things in store for you if you start mentioning what's going on with you and your body. So just take care of yourselves out there, guys. If you need somebody to talk to, find a trusted friend.
Yes, and here you have two really odd friends. What do you have? You have a leopard sneaking into a village at night to visit a cow that he became buddies with. And look at, they're snuggling together. Isn't this a real sign of what can be done? Yeah, I don't think, again, even the world that we're in now, at the turning point of the age, is nothing like the world that we'll be in when we turn from bronze to silver, because we're on the ascending cycle. Everything, it changes dramatically, because everything is created to provide growth. This is all about learning. So again, thank you guys so much. We couldn't do it without your support. You can reach us to set up sessions, Vedic astrology, biofield tuning, connecting to your guides, your angels, insights into your bigger purpose for this life. Again, it's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. And much love. Really look forward to your comments. Source bless. Namaste.
Namaste.